friends, my name is Maylin and welcome back to my channel. I'm a flutist, performer, and music teacher located in the city of Quem, British Columbia, and this is my channel where we do all things flute, so thank you so much for joining me here today. In today's video, we're going to be introducing high E, so if you're interested, just keep on watching. As always, if you have any questions to the video, please feel free to drop them in the comment section down below. I do my best to answer them as soon as I see them. Also, if you have any issues when it comes to practicing, feel free to check out my free practice guide, also located in the description down below. It gives you 8 really easy steps to follow to help guide your practice sessions. Alright, so let's just get right into today's video. We're going to be learning how to play high E on the flute, and of course this is going to be episode number 50 of the How to Play the Flute for Beginners. And of course we're going to be reading it from my favorite book here. This is going to be the Trevor Wise Beginner's Book for the Flute Part 2. And I'm going to be starting on page 76 today. Alright, so I'm going to just start by putting the fingering for the high E right over here. Alright, so he just has a little note here. Mr. Y writes, a faster airspeed is needed for top E. So quickly we'll go through the fingering here so we make sure we have it all correct. So it's pretty much just like you're playing the E below that. All you're going to be doing is you're actually going to just be lifting your ring finger on your left hand. So you're going to have 1, 2 down on your left hand, thumb in the back, 1, 2, and then your pinky on the right hand. So it's going to sound like this. So that is the high E. My recommendation for playing high notes just like this one, please check the episode previous to this. I go into further detail when it comes to talking about the harmonics, breath, and all your techniques that you need to make sure that you're looking over before you start playing these high notes. So I want to make sure that you apply all the same things that I've spoken about in the previous video here. With this one specific note, I would highly recommend, again, using the low C fingering harmonic in order to get the correct pitch here. And of course, using a tuner is going to help you to get the note in tune, which is really important. So again, you can download that, or you can actually buy a physical tuner so that you can make sure that as you're starting to learn the note, that you get the correct pitch in your ear. Just a quick reminder for the harmonics. So we're going to be fingering that low C, so all the keys are going to be down here. And then you're going to overblow by using your air and just moving your lips ever so slightly and slurring up the breath all the way up to that high E. Of course, if you're interested, again, I have a video all about the harmonic series and you can see this written out. I'll put it in the iCard here, my video on tone development, and I go into greater detail on how to visualize the harmonic series, especially with that low C and to get that high E there. So what I did in that example is I just played all the way up to that E partial, and then I switch to the normal fingering just to make sure I can hear what changes between the harmonic E and then the normal E. And then once I was happy with that, I just went all the way back down as well. Alright, so now that we've been introduced to the high E, let's do some warm-up exercises. So I'm going to put number 1 right over here. So I'm not going to clap and count this one, of course. Again, similar to the video previous to this one, I'm going to do it just as if I was warming up. So nice and slow, doesn't necessarily need to be timed like within a metronome. You don't have to use it at all. Really focus on, again, getting the most warm, beautiful, open sound that you can by taking a nice deep breath and making sure that you have nice space and an open throat as much as you can so that you can let all the air out but in a nice even manner. Okay, so I'm just going to take a nice deep breath here, and again, any of these notes you can also use the harmonic partial. So for G, that's going to be that low C. B, only if you have the extension here. So this is the low B extension. But if you don't, that's okay, just finger the normal B. The D, of course, is you can do the normal D. Same thing with the E, is just going to be that C, and otherwise that's all the notes here. So first of all, I'll play it with the harmonics, and then I'll play it as written. So that was the harmonics, and I'm going to play it normally with the normal fingering. very nice. Essentially just using that warm up there to get used to playing up to that higher note, that higher E. It's just a little bit different from that D because it doesn't feel as open as the D does because you are putting down more keys. So definitely, again, use those harmonic series. Make sure that you're using enough air and don't pitch the embouchure at all. Just try to make sure that you have a lot of air coming out at a fast speed, and you'll be able to get a really nice high E. All right, now we're going to do exercise number 2 here. So I'm going to put it up right over here. So this one, we're not going to do the clapping count here. So just make sure that you do take note of the key signature here. So we are in A major, so we have F sharps, C sharps, and G sharps. So just for reference, I'm going to play it for you on the flute, but of course you can always take it at whatever other tempo you'd like to take it. So if you want to take it faster, if you want to take it slower, do all these kind of experimentations so that you get comfortable just with playing that high E. For this one, I am, just for reference, I'm going to be doing it at a quarter note equals 76. 1, 2, 3. I'm making sure that I have a really nice open tone by keeping as much space in my mouth as I can by, again, lowering my tongue. So it's not like it's really high up touching the roof of my mouth. I'm using a lot of nice air and I have a nice open embouchure as much as I can to get a nice warm sound. Alright, now we're going to go on to the scale exercise in A minor on page 77. So I'm just going to put it up right over here. We'll just go through the starter bits very quickly. So as I mentioned, A minor, so that means we know we're going to be seeing raised 7, so the G sharps there. Number 2 would be our time signatures. We have 4/4, so making sure that there's 4 quarter notes in each measure. There's no tempo indication here. So if you do want to play at a nice fast speed, you could totally do that. I'll play it at a moderate tempo here, so you have an idea of if you want to play it at a moderate tempo. If you do need to slow it down, of course, go back into the playback settings and slow it down so that you can play it at a tempo where you're not making any mistakes at all or very few, and then you can always slowly increase it until you get it to a tempo where you're happy to perform it at. Of course, there's no dynamics, so again, focusing mostly on getting a really nice tone and finger technique. Make sure that you're playing about a mezzo forte or forte here. And then we do have some articulation, so making sure that you're playing any of the slurs there. Anything with eighth notes are going to be under slurs, so make sure that you pay attention to where they begin and where they end. And then there's nothing crazy with the roadmap, just playing from top to bottom. Alright, and just for reference, I will be putting on a metronome here, and the metronome is going to be a quarter note equals 94. 1, 2, 3, and... Very nice. So with this one, of course, you're playing all the range here from that low E, I should say, all the way up to that high E. So really making sure that with this one, I would mostly focus on that second to last bar where you're playing that low A all the way up to that high E and then all the way back down to the low E on the fourth bar. Really making sure that you're taking the breaths that you need that are not feeling stressed or anxious. You're going to really want to make sure that even if you're playing it at a fast tempo, that you take a really nice, relaxing, deep breath before you start. This can be trained to be fast, but if you want to take your breath out of context and really slow it down to make sure that you're training yourself to get the right way of feeling how to breathe, again, nice deep breaths just like you're yawning. You're going to be nice and fast just like I did there, so that you have enough air to get that one long slur of the second, the last bar to get up to that high E. And again, take it nice and slow, starting on the note where you're feeling comfortable. So saying it's that A there on the line, and then doing the A to the C, or then going to C to the E, doing small steps in order to get to the place where you want to be at. Alright, so now we're going to go on to the duet for today, and this is called Quem Pastors. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. So I'm just going to put it up right over here, and for reference, this is going to be on page 76 at the bottom. So this one will go through a more analytical start, so going through our first 6 starter bits. This one I won't be clapping because it is pretty straightforward at this point. So we just have quarter notes and half notes, but then we'll play it on the flute on both parts, and then I'll have them at the end, the completed duet, so that you can have a reference of what it sounds like when you should be playing it when I'm playing the first part and when I'm playing the second part. Alright, so number 1, we're going to be looking at our key signature here. So we're going to look in between the treble clef and the time signature. So we have 1 sharp. So of course it can be a G major or its relative minor, E minor. So you're going to look at the first note, last note, see if you have the tonic. So we do see G and the first note, last note, so that highly indicates that we're in G major. Just make sure we don't have any indications of the minor key. So again, E minor is the relative minor, so looking to see if you can find any of the raised 7th or raised 6th. So I don't see any really strong indications. We do have 1 D sharp in the second part, in the second line there, and 1 C sharp in the second part, in the first line, second to last bar there. But otherwise, I don't really see any other indications of the minor key. So we are in G major. Of course, number 2, our time signature is 3/4, so again, 3/4 notes per measure. And then 3, our tempo indication here, we are playing grazioso. So when we play the duet here, the final tempo is going to be a quarter note equals 108. 4, we're going to be looking at our articulation. So here we have just slurs for the most part. I do want to make a note here that we do have a little trill at the end in the first part. So I'm looking at the second line, second to last bar. And Mr. Y does have a little note here. So I'm actually going to just read it at the bottom. So this is a little trill. So the TR stands for trill. Another decoration. Let your third finger bounce 3 or 4 times on the key to rapidly alternate F sharp and G for the duration of the note. Trills always go upwards, the note above being the next one up according to the key signature. So essentially a trill is when you are going to be playing the note that is written. So here we have F sharp, and then you're going to go up 1 other note. So in this case, it would be just a G natural, and that's how you play a trill. So with this one, he has the alternate fingering for the F sharp to G trill. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be fingering the normal F sharp, but then instead of keeping your right hand ring finger down, you're going to actually switch it to the alternate fingering of the F sharp. So you're going to put your middle finger down instead, and then you're just going to lift it up and down while playing through that note, and that's going to be a trill. And there you go. So there's a trill, and you can play it slowly, you can play it quickly. It all depends on the style of the piece. Alright, so now that we've gone through the articulation, we're going to go on to number 5, our dynamics. So here we are starting on a piano. We have a hairpin crescendo and decrescendo at the 4 last bars of the first line there. So we have a nice crescendo in those last 3, and then a decrescendo, where we come down to piano again in the second line, where we have a crescendo into that 4th bar mezzo forte, and then we have just a decrescendo on that last note there at the very end. 6, of course, is our roadmap. We're going to see if we have any repeats or anything, and we don't, so we're just going to be reading it from top to bottom. Alright, so again, like I said, I'm not going to clap and count it just because it is so straightforward at this point. And if you do feel like you need to, go right on ahead. There's no shame in clapping and counting it if you need that tool there. Alright, so now we're going to play it on the flute. So this is going to be the first part. Again, a quarter note equals 108, and if you need to slow it down, you can absolutely do that in the playback settings. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Alright, very nice. So with this one, you're really going to want to make sure that you have a lot of control over the airspeed. So when you're playing up those higher notes in a quieter dynamic, what happens is that I find that I have more not tenseness, but I can definitely feel my core muscles tightening up a bit. So I'm still controlling the airspeed, but the amount of air is less. So that's how I end up getting a softer dynamic. But if you feel like you're not comfortable starting like that, again, start at a louder dynamic and then slowly practice playing, bringing back the amount of air that you are using, but still making sure that it is in tune and still has the same pitch. Again, really using your tuner here to help you, making sure that you're having the consistency of keeping your notes in tune is going to be really important when you're practicing getting those high notes at a softer dynamic. So that's going to be the biggest part of playing this duet, is making sure that you're getting the correct pitch while you're experimenting with your dynamics. And then of course when you have that trill there, just make sure that if you want to land on the normal F sharp to start and then just switch over, that's totally okay as well. Just making sure that you're landing on the F sharp, coming up, and then trilling down on the middle key there. Alright, now we're going to do the same thing with part 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So again, paying attention to all the same dynamic markings as the first part will be really important to make sure that you are able to match up with the recordings when you're playing them together. Alright, so that's going to be it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I did decide to compact it a little bit more, so I didn't really go into too much explanation like the time signatures, key signatures. However, if you do have any questions, of course, please feel free to drop them in the comment section down below, and I'll do my best to answer them as soon as I see them. And of course, if you're having issues with practicing, please check out my practice guide. I just want to say thank you so much for joining me here today. I hope that you enjoyed today's lesson. And if you did like this video, please be sure to press the like button and also to subscribe for more videos just like this. Thank you again for watching, and as always, happy fluting!